So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Marija. I live in Queens, New York, and I manage a luxury portfolio for a company called William Grant & Sons. William Grant & Sons is one of the 3 family-owned companies that stayed in Scotland. Everything else is corporate. It's a family-owned company that dates back 1887. And besides Balvenie or Balvenie that we have here today, our other main Scotch is Glenfiddich, that I'm sure a lot of you heard about. And Glenfiddich was actually the first whiskey that William Grant started producing back in 1887. Besides these 2 brands, we also own Hendrick's Gin, which I'm sure all of you had at some point or have at your bar. They own Tullamore Irish whiskey, Milagro tequila, Reyka vodka, and a couple of small other brands. One of the brands that family owns locally is Hudson whiskey that I'm sure you came across in the past couple of years, but that's also what is owned by William Grant & Sons. My job is to educate people on whiskey, and I manage luxury accounts in New York State, mostly Manhattan, but all the way up to Hamptons and upstate. So my focus are whiskeys, so if you have any questions after this or need any additional information, please let me know. But I manage mostly hotels, restaurants, and high-end retail, which we consider one of those. We really appreciate all of the business we get in Westchester. A lot of you love to drink whiskey, so thank you for that. Way more than people in Manhattan. So here today we are to talk about Balvenie. And I just want to touch a little bit on Glenfiddich because it's a very important date in the history of family, because Mr. William Grant used to work for a distillery called Mortlach that I'm sure a lot of you heard about. And he was so tired of working for other people, so he had 7 sons and 2 daughters, and he started building distillery in 1886. 1 year later, he opened, the first liquid started running from Glenfiddich on a Christmas day in 1887, and that liquid was Glenfiddich. 30 years later, in 1892, he started producing Balvenie, which was a farm before. So gentleman who owned the farm, he couldn't maintain it anymore, and the water source that Mr. Grant was using for Glenfiddich was based on that farm. So he said, if you want to keep your water, you have to buy my farm. And that's how Balvenie started. Went from the farm to the distillery. Balvenie is something that we are really proud of because, you know, nowadays you're seeing even on McDonald's commercial, they will say handcrafted or handmade. And a lot of people are using handcrafted for everything nowadays, right? Balvenie is something that is really to this date handcrafted. We grow our own barley. We have our own malting floor. Of course, we buy some because the production of barley that they were growing is way bigger than what they own at the moment. So we buy some as well, but we have our own malting floor. We grow our own barley. The distillery should be 10 times larger than it is, but it still kept its original look. We also have our own copperage on site. So a lot of our other distilleries are coming to Balvenie, and they buy barrels from us. So it's a really special place, and a brand that is very important for us. It has really distinctive look, and there's no whiskey that looks like this to this date. So something that is very specific about Balvenie is the bottle look that we kept for all of these years. Sometimes it gets lost on the shelf or in the back bar because it's a little bit smaller, but it's something that we will definitely never change. Today in front of you, you have 4 different expressions of Balvenie. The first one is Portwood, which is on upper left side. The next to it is Caribbean Cask, which is our best-selling whiskey in US. Then down there is our newer expression. This came on the market 3.5 years ago, maybe 4. This is our French oak. but it's not the French oak that you expect, and I will talk a little bit about that when we get to this expression. And then we have our portwood, which is our best-selling whiskey in higher-end restaurants, because a lot of people that don't want to have dessert, they have this whiskey, and it's still a very nice price point. So I really want you to enjoy some whiskey, so I want you to try tasting. And this by any means is not food pairing, so please have some food and have some water, and if you need more water, I have more. I want you to really enjoy your whiskey and just have some food with it. So I take some responsibility out of me having all of this whiskey in front of you tonight. So the first Balvenie that we have is our double wood. It's a 12-year-old. And this is something that we got known for. And why is that? Our malt master, and I will not say former, because Mr. David Stewart is still heavily involved in Balvenie production. His signature is on all of the bottles except new releases. He retired in 2022, but they still call him for a lot of things, right? So technically he did not retire fully. He's our honorary malt master, and he still gives his opinions and his advices on some production. This was the first whiskey he created. He joined Balvenie Distillery back in 1960, and he retired in 2022. This is very easy drinking, smooth expressions of Balvenie. You can feel free to taste it. You can also put a drop of water if you are not a big whiskey drinker. It will not damage whiskey by any means. And this is something that has two different casks, so that's why we call it double wood. It had sherry oak and a whiskey cask. Majority of our whiskeys are aged in a sherry oak at some point, or the majority of the time. The only expressions that have not seen sherry oak are some of our kosher expressions, and those are usually limited releases. So I want to cheer all of you. Thank you for joining us today. Cheers, enjoy, and let me know what you think about it. Smooth, easy drinking whiskey. I cannot say light. I don't like using light or sweet for any type of whiskey, but this is really the smoothest expression we will have today. Very straightforward. This is also great if you would like to experiment with some whiskey cocktails. I would do this or 14, but not past that. We do not recommend drinking any of our whiskeys with ice, but we can drop a little bit of water because it just opens up flavors a little bit from the glass. So people are very often asking about two casks. Do we age in one for 12 years and another one for 12 years and then we blend them? We do not. We age 6 years in one and 6 years in another one.
So it's equal time?
Yes.
That's the same for pretty much any double oak?
Yes, yes. We used to have expression 17 years old Balvenie, double wood as well, but we discontinued that one because it was a lot of similarities with this one, and then we started producing 16 instead. So you will see on some of the shelves, even here in this store, Balvenie comes with their stories edition as well. So every year there is a certain, except this one actually, but this year we have some super new exclusive releases. Every year we come with a new story, with a new stories edition, and that's usually 1 or 2 barrels because they are very limited. And why we are having stories editions? We're having stories editions because Balvenie Distillery got a name after Balvenie Castle. It doesn't really have any meaning, right? The Glenfiddich is Valley of the Deer, but the Balvenie doesn't have any meaning. It got named after the castle that is next to very near distillery. I cannot say next to because Glenfiddich is next to it. Very near distillery, and there was a lady. There was a story that says there was a lady who lived in that distillery, in that castle. She was very beautiful, and she wanted to stay to live in that castle for free. But the gentleman who owned the castle, he didn't allow her. So he said, you can stay to live here, but you have to pay every night. And she's like, what is the price? And he's like, people that work for me, they will take care of it. So they had gardeners who worked there. They were bringing to the owner of the castle every day 1 red rose. And they're saying, because you were so greedy to ask this lady to pay the price, we are paying for her so she can stay to live here. You will see we have first red rose, second red rose. Those are all our limited releases. And all of our stories editions, if you see Balvenis, they have certain story related to this castle and to this lady. They're saying that her ghost still lives there. I'm not brave enough to check and go in the nighttime and to check, but they're saying that when they're working during nighttime on the melting floors, that you can kind of hear the ghost walking. So I'm like, I can visit Balvenie during the daytime, but I'm not visiting any nighttime. So there is a lot of stories that surround Balvenie Distillery. And that's why we have our stories edition and our limited releases that are coming out almost every year, because this year we will skip. The 4 whiskeys that you're having in front of you, that's our core range. These 4 are not going anywhere. And I'm always also looking from the consumer perspective. The price range of these is always, it never increases too much. It really stays decent, because when some limited releases are coming, they might be even younger age but higher price point. Balvenie also has some releases for travel retail. So I suggest if you travel outside of country, or if you find yourself in Europe in duty-free shops, you can find some pretty interesting releases. Not very expensive, really, in this price range, but you can find only in the airports. We have 14 years old Madeira cask, and we have 16 years old Pedro Jimenez cask. And those are just for travel retail. So I suggest if you come around to get some, just to try those different expressions. Awesome. So our next whiskey is our 14 years old Balvenie. This is Caribbean cask, and this is our best-selling whiskey in US from Balvenie. And one thing that is, good afternoon. One thing that is very specific about this release is that we buy rum in Caribbean, we bring rum back to Scotland. We buy rum in Caribbean, we bring it back to Scotland. We observe for a couple of months how the rum behaves in those barrels. Then we sell that rum back to Caribbean, and that's how we finish our Balvenie in a Caribbean cask. This is basically 15 years old whiskey, because we finish it between 8 and 10 months additionally. So any number that you see on the box, that's the minimum required age this whiskey spends in a barrel. That any finishing time is additional. So you can look at it that everything you're having today is a couple of months, if not a full year older. Our Malt Master is not releasing ever the exact time, how long he finishes, but that's our assumption based on the taste profile. And some of the higher age ranges, they are finished for almost a full year. So the Caribbean cask is something that has a little bit sweeter taste profile from all of the other expressions. And I will touch on portwood a little bit at the end. But this is great if you like anything coffee or tropical fruit related. This is really great if you want to experiment and make espresso martini with it. I have in a couple of restaurants in the city. So it's great with a coffee, with caramel, with banana, with pineapple, simply because of that rum finish. Very similar, just the double wood really doesn't have a rum finish, but they are aged in a similar, like double wood saw sherry cask and this is sherry cask, right? So they both spend certain time in a sherry oak, so all of them will have certain similar. I think 16 is the most different from all of them, and when you come to 16, you'll think, oh, this is such a light color and light expression. It's actually the highest alcohol content from all of these. But yeah, they are very similar. The difference is that this is really finished in the Caribbean cask and has that sweeter rum finish. This is amazing in cocktails. So it's great in cocktails, great in any like coffee desserts or coffee cakes or anything like that. So if you like to experiment, this is really a great way to go. So when we are doing pairing dinners, we usually keep portwood for the end. We start with a cocktail with 12.
Okay.
If there is no 21 involved, then we finish with 14. So then if there is 12, 14, and 16, we skip 14, we keep it for the dessert. Then we do 16 with the main course, 12 to begin with the appetizer, and then finish with 14 or with 21.
So they kind of follow the progression of a meal almost.
Yes, yes. But I didn't want to mix it up too much, but for example, if we would taste Glenfiddich and Balvenie today, we would taste all of the Glenfiddich expressions before we would get to Balvenie, because it's really, the finishes in the different casks are something that is really, really specific for this whiskey. And everything started at Mr. David Stewart. He's like, I want to experiment with this. And him and Mr. Brian Kinsman, who is our malt master for Glenfiddich, they share the same tasting room. So that's actually how Glenfiddich started experimenting with different cask finishes, even if it's older distillery than Balvenie. Balvenie released all the way up to 60 years old. And next year we will have one special release. Even we don't know how many years. They gave us little teas with some historic events and things like that last week, and I did math in my head. But it will be the oldest released whiskey ever, and it will come from Balvenie. I cannot even imagine price range, so yes. 60 years old was 135,000, and this we really don't know. In 2022, Mr. David Stewart kind of passed the responsibility to his apprentice. Her name is Kelsey McKickney. So she's now our malt master for Balvenie. So as a company, we are very proud that we have malt master for Balvenie and our master distiller for Hendrick's. We have two women. Kelsey McKickney, so Balvenie 60 is the only release that we have both signatures on that bottle, from Kelsey and from Mr. David, because this was the release that they released together. After that, it's all Kelsey's signatures. So as soon as we run out of these boxes, that I don't know how many they produced, it will be Kelsey's signature on the bottle. The first release she released on her own is Balvenie 19 years old Sherry Oak. It's available here in the store. Again, I say it's a very, very special release. It's a beautiful taste profile. It's very feminine. It's very pink color, but it's more expensive than 21, just because it's a limited release. So whoever likes a little bit older whiskey, I always suggest to go in direction of 21. But if you want to collect and become very rich one day and resell these, then I suggest you start buying some limited releases. All right, our third whiskey is something that was actually created by our brand ambassador. So we have a national brand ambassador for Glenfiddich. His name is Lorne. He's been ambassador for 11 years for William Grant. He actually plays pipes as well. I always love to tell this story about him. He hates me that I'm telling. But he was playing pipes for Madonna, and he went on a tour with Madonna for 3 years. And he decided it's touring with Madonna is not for him. He was not allowed to drink any whiskey. So he got back with it from the tour, and he came back to work for us. So he said, I feel now when I came back, I want to create something. So he suggested Mr. David Stewart to produce a French oak Balvenie, simply because he said you have to produce something with a lighter taste profile. So David was very suspicious. He's like, I'm not sure if this is good for our whiskey. And he's like, please play with this Pinot de Charente cask from France, from Cognac. This is not Cognac cask. This is wine cask from Cognac region. And this is the lightest expression, but this is 47.6 alcohol, and everything else is 43, 45. So very light taste profile, a lot of pear, a lot of apricot, a lot of apple, but the finish and the alcohol, you can really, really feel when you swallow it.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, warms your heart. Warm.
There are very different opinions about this Balvenie 16. So people that love big, bold whiskeys to enjoy with cigars, they're like, no, this is not for me. But then people that are getting into whiskey and trying to explore different taste profiles, they really love it. I mean, even if you look at the color between this and 21, it's a completely different story. But the whiskey is so powerful. And I think that's something that you don't really expect from this. This is also a favorite for people that enjoy wine. So people that love and appreciate wine and want to end their meal with a whiskey, they usually go for this. I also wanted to mention, if you decide to purchase any of the bottles today, I have engraver, and she can engrave any bottles for you for Father's Day or for gift or for you. Last Thursday we had tasting and everybody were engraving bottles for themselves. So I was like, yes, I love the self-love. Do it.
Yeah.
The last but not least is our Balvenie 21 years old. This is Portwood. This is aged finished between 10 and 12 months in a Portwood. I would say, again, none of these whiskeys is sweet by any means, but this would be the most aromatic expression that we have today. This is a very serious whiskey. This is something that you would enjoy at the end of the meal instead of the dessert, paired with your dessert. And this is one of the expressions that is favorite really in the restaurants. We have a huge success in the restaurants, especially restaurants that are having dessert cart or a whiskey cart or something like that. They love doing pairings with this whiskey. And it's still a nice price range. Yes, my favorite, but I say that for a lot of whiskeys. But from the core range, this would really be my favorite. None of the Balvenie or Glenfiddich expressions are peated smoky whiskeys. We do have some peated releases, like currently we have Balvenie 12 American Oak, Balvenie 12 single barrel, Balvenie 12 single barrel that we released last year, and that is a peated expression. For me, for people that love peated whiskey like Ardbeg or Lafroig, for example, those are two most peated, Lagavulin, some of Lagavulin's, those are peated. When they try that Balvenie 12, for them it's like, oh, this is not really peated. But for me, I don't like peated whiskey. It's like in my face, right? The peated releases happen with Balvenie by accident. So when that release happened, Mr. David Stewart was like, this is not a double wood that I expected. Let's make something special out of it. That's how they create some peated releases. The only peated release that is particularly made as a peated release is Balvenie Week of Peat. It's 1 week out of the year when they release peated whiskeys. We don't produce it anymore. You might find some of the shelves forgotten somewhere or on auctions. But if you see Week of Peat, that Balvenie was produced, bottled, taken from barrel that week of the year. And it's usually very, very limited. So Balvenie is, they're always saying, it really in US, Balvenie became popular like 30 years ago. Glenfiddich was always our main whiskey in the entire world. Actually in Asia, it's the best-selling whiskey. Here's number 2. Balvenie was always kind of a younger cousin of Glenfiddich, but these whiskeys are really staple whiskeys now in US market and very important for us. But until 30 years ago, people really didn't talk about Balvenie that much. And these whiskeys became popular first in the bar scene, actually, because they were so interesting for bartenders, because nobody was really doing what Balvenie was doing. So bartenders started exploring Balvenie and the handcraft and entire story around it. And that's how they actually got into the market. There was never a big Balvenie brand launch or anything like that. Simply Whiskey came to US and people loved it. And that's what keeps it really, to this day, favorite with people. It's not Macallan, by any means never wants to be Macallan. People compare very often different finishes, but it's at this point way better price range if you look at it. After Balvenie 21, we have, besides stories editions and special releases that are 27, and that is 27 at this moment, we have our marrying casks, and those are 25, 30, 40, 50, and 60. We do not have anything in between or any special releases. The thing is that family owns everything, so they really do have a lot of whiskey. So we never know what they will release, what they will come up with, but definitely there are some interesting things coming next year. 14 and 21 are really favorite. The 12 is favorite for gifts, so people gift a lot of 12. We also noticed that lately, a lot of people are buying smaller like bottles, half bottles. So starting September 1st, we will release Balvenie 14 200 milliliters. And we will release Glenfiddich 14 375 milliliters. These bottles are $750. In Europe, our bottles are 700 mLs. So $135,000 bottle was 700 mLs. That was another explanation you had to do to the person who bought it, why he's getting less liquid for that much money. It's a very special release we had. It was one barrel, so usually from barrel we get between 250 and 350 bottles. We lost so much liquid in this one bottle, so we released 71 bottles of Balvenie 60. We got only 8 in US. Everything went to collectors' hands, and everything else was sold in Asia and in Europe, also to collectors. Nobody actually tasted the liquid. But this is the funny story. I got this job in November 2022, and 3 months later in January, they told me your first task for this year is to sell this $135,000 bottle of whiskey somewhere where people can actually taste it, which means to a restaurant or a bar or a hotel. And I worked in high-end hospitality for 10 years before that. There's no way anyone will keep this in their inventory. But times changed since my time. So this bottle was sold in New York, and I sold it. I didn't sell it in January. It took me almost a year to do so. But it lives in Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Nomad in Manhattan. And it's $6,500 half ounce, 12,001. And then if you want 2 ounces, they give you a little discount, so it's 22,000.
Do you work on commission?
No, I actually know.
Do you know how much of it they've sold?
So first, that was really like, and after that, Boston copied, and I'm a huge Knicks fan. I always think Boston copies New York. It's actually opposite, but never mind. So Boston actually copied us, and they bought one right after. The thing is that nobody tasted the liquid, so they really had people flying from Asia. They had 2 collectors flying to try it because they didn't want to open their bottles. And it was so funny. It lives on they have a rooftop. It's called Nubelus. It's a beautiful rooftop, and it lives there. Of course, we had to get them a dummy bottle filled with fake liquid, and because they keep it, of course, downstairs in the safe. But we had a big press release party, so we had some shots for press. Wall Street Journal tasted it, New York Times tasted it, Rolling Stone, I think, some of the press people, but very, very little. So for me, it was very challenging to do a party for so many people and not have them taste the liquid. But we tasted some other stuff. I personally did not taste it. I hope I will. But people that taste it say that it's really, really exquisite. Yeah. And I was, that's the funny story. I was walking in, they have, I love to drink margarita, right? I love tequila. And they have the best margarita on that rooftop. So I'm like, oh my God, let me go have a margarita after a long day. And my buyer from there, he's like, come here, Marija. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, those two guys at the bar, they are tasting Balvenie 60. He's like, it was my day off and they called me that somebody wants it. I had to come here to unlock the safe to pour it for them. And I'm like, wow, I'm sorry, but you made a great profit for.
Concerns with just storing a liquid like that?
Oh, there is. I mean, I wish.
Evaporation or anything?
I hope we see each other more. I mean, I could play you a video of me delivering this to them. So it lives in a big cage with the wheels, and I drive, but I didn't trust myself. So we couldn't deliver this on a truck, right? We couldn't have Empire, who is our distributor, to deliver this. So our warehouse is in Edison, New Jersey, and I drive, but I didn't even trust myself to go to pick up this. Yeah. So I called the driver and I'm like, you have to take me to pick up this bottle. And he's wheeling and he's taking to the car, and I'm like, you know, there's $135,000 there. And he's like, what? If you told me that I could wear a suit. He's like, I just came, you know, I feel like we are doing some illegal business here. I'm like, no, we are not. And then we really, Ritz is on Broadway. I stopped traffic. I'm like, nobody's coming until we wheel this inside. It comes with a pack of white gloves. It's a whole thing. Like I was scared. I'm like, nothing can happen to this bottle because, you know, we would probably all be fired if something did. But it's a very special bottle, and we have 4 or 5 places in the city that also have 50. That's around 5,000. It's a big difference between 50 and 60 price. 50 is around 50,000, and 60 is 135. But 50 is being produced now already second year. 60 is not. Awesome. So I have something special for you. The bottle does not look representative at all because it's a sample bottle, but it's very nice whiskey. They have it here in the store, and I decided to share with you because I was a sommelier for so many years, and I love drinking wine. This is not Balvenie, this is Glenfiddich. And this is Glenfiddich Grand Chateau. This is 31 years old whiskey, finished for 9 years in a Bordeaux red wine cask. So it's a very different taste profile because we've really never had any whiskey stayed for that long in a particular cask. It's something that we are very proud of. I think price range is $2,200 or $2,500 or $2,000. It really depends. It's a beautiful big box, the whole situation and presentation. But what I love about this, it's really, really beautiful whiskey, and you can really taste those 31 years of age. I will pour in whatever you did rinse off.
Thank you.
My pleasure. None of the distilleries really ever did this. So you can really, really taste all of the aromas that came from a red wine. Again, we cannot disclose which wineries or which part of Bordeaux or anything like that. But this is something really, really special, and 31 years of age plus 10 months in a red, past 10 months, it's really something special. Nobody leaves whiskey for 9 years in particular cask, because you leave it just to finish it a little bit, and that's why majority of whiskeys, I don't like to say it, but you taste that sherry oak, right? All of them so sherry. But this was for 9 years in a Bordeaux red wine cask. So I think it's a very different expression from everything it was ever produced, yes. And it's 31 years of age. I mean, once you start drinking something that is 30 years and up, it's a very different taste profile.
Do you know roughly what the alcohol percentage is?
Yes. 47.6.
Okay, so it's a little about the same.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it's the same as French.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of coats the inside.
Yes. This is very powerful whiskey. I mean, it's the bottle is white and looks so cute, but when you open it, it's like very serious. Before this, 2 years ago, we released our Glenfiddich 29 years old Gran Yozakura, and we finished that in Japanese Avamori cask. That's a completely different taste profile, much lighter, but you can still feel that 29 years of age. All right.
So my name is Colin. I'm a local White Plains resident. Here today for the tasting with the Balvenie. In 2 of the 4 I had before, the double wood and the Caribbean cask, and there are, I wouldn't call them staples, but they're two of my favorites. I was quite excited to try the French oak and the port wood. French oak's not quite my thing. The port wood is very different. Debating about the price point, but you know, that's what happens when you taste the most expensive thing in the tasting. But the format was great. Host was very knowledgeable, and very thankful to Westchester Wine for putting these things on. Like I said last time, been to a handful of these, and always well executed. And looking forward to the next one. I think I saw the mezcal one. I might give that a shot coming up. Yeah, always down to try new things, and that's kind of one of the joys of life.